The topic of this evening's program, Biden versus Trump. Biden versus Trump, your choice for this 19th Political Pundit Night. I'm going to quickly introduce everybody, but also ask them for a few minutes to talk about Biden versus Trump, your choice, and who you think, who you support, okay? Biden versus Trump. So the first person I'm going to call on is Frank Acom. Frank Acom, the conservative commentator of the Twin Tiers on WENY Radio. He's known all over the Twin Tiers. Frank, Biden versus Trump, what say you?
I think you gave it away when you said I was a conservative voice of the Twin Tiers. I want to say hi to everybody. I miss seeing everybody in person at a pundit night, and thank you everybody tuning in. I can't stay that long. This gives me a good excuse to go away easily and walk off the stage and get a good night's rest. But obviously, I'm picking President Donald Trump. I think there's been such a clear difference, and there will be a clear difference going into November when we talk about such things as a party and Joe Biden that talks about defunding the police and has yet to call out, unless something changed tonight with the DNC, yet to call out the rioting and disavow that. And you've got in President Trump a president that's looking for law and order, looking for the American way of life. And also, I think after the pandemic and the smoke clears, you're going to want someone that is proven with economic recovery, like President Trump. Joe Biden, of course, could do nothing about the Great Recession. I know they tell us different now and kind of rewrite history and give Obama credit for President Trump's economy. But he has proven himself in the economy when the pandemic clears. He did a lot during the pandemic that he doesn't get credit for, such as putting together the task force, starting the vaccine research, and banning travel from China, which the Democrats called xenophobic. And while he was doing that, the Democrats were involved in the impeachment inquiry and impeachment trial that had nowhere to go. So in my humble opinion, I look forward to re-electing President Donald Trump. Thank you.
So Frank, to people watching right now on mytwintears.com, you have your talk show every morning on WENY Radio. Yeah. And 936-9369 is the number.
I wish you didn't do that. I'm going to get a call tomorrow. Yes, they can call in anytime, 6 to 9. This is the studio that I'm in. I decided to do it from there, yep.
And it's 936-9369, right?
That's the number. Call in. It's live on the air. And we've got an exciting announcement on the station. We're going to be making some major changes in a good way. Nothing scary on August 31st. So stay tuned for that.
Well, that'll be great, Frank. Well, keep up the good work. Congratulations at 936-9369. Next up is Dora Lewin. Dora is the political commentator, political activist, public school educator, and Chemung County Democratic chair. Dora, Biden versus Trump, what say you?
Well, first I want to just say thank you, Dr. Coleman, for holding these events. I think that civil discourse is critical, especially in these difficult times. I just want to make clear that I'm speaking as an individual. I think that we would all agree that we are upon probably the most challenging times of our life. I think if you watch the Democratic debate, I have never in my life been more proud to call myself a Democrat. The diversity and just the amazing plans and outlook and insight for the nation that was displayed there, I think is something to hold upon. I think that the nation is at a crossroads, and I think if the last 3+ years has shown us anything, it is that this president is, as the wise Michelle Obama said, isn't over his head. I don't think that he took the pandemic seriously, and here we are. I think it was reported that the only nation that has handled this worse is Brazil. So I think that we are ready for some true leadership. I think we're ready to realign with our global partnerships that have been, quite frankly, dissolved over these past 3 years. I think we're ready for a new America that is inclusive, that is ready to embrace all people, So I cast my vote 100% wholeheartedly with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I think that they are a ticket that is really going to bring us forth into a new era that really, like I said, is just inclusive of all of Americans.
Dora Leland, do you consider yourself a Democratic progressive?
I do. My whole life. I have been a Democrat since my legal age to vote, yes.
Okay. Would you say that you're a member of the so-called squad with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? You say yes to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Well, I would say this. I would say that I am an American and I am for policies that benefit all Americans. I am not one to label myself, and I really don't like labeling others. So, any policy that saves our earth, that protects jobs, that advances the lives of all Americans, 100% I'm for.
Okay, so that's Bernie Sanders, right?
I think that is any good Democrat, yes.
Okay. So,
and any good American, I would add.
Well, there may be some Americans that don't agree with Bernie Sanders and don't agree with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right?
But again, Dr. Coleman, we are not labeling. We are trying to look for common ground. And if we can find ways that benefit all Americans, wouldn't that be the most bipartisan and universal path forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's something that would benefit all Americans, but all Americans may agree or disagree with that prescription, Dora. So see what happens. Jerome Emanuel is on the panel tonight. He's a community leader and activist. Jerome, thank you so much for joining the panel. And what say you in terms of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump? Who do you support, Jerome? Hello, Jerome.
I can tell you. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I can tell you that I'm supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But I can say this, and I've really thought about this question, quite often, especially within the last couple of days. And in our American history, stars win elections. And it was proven, JFK won the election. Ronald Reagan was a star. He won. Barack Obama was a star. He won. Donald Trump was a star. He won. I also can say that, going into this, I'm a Bernie supporter, have been since day one. But I know a lot of people that were diehard Elizabeth Warren supporters. I know people that were diehard Andrew Yang supporters. I don't know a lot of people that going into this primary were diehard Joe Biden supporters. And what it seems like that's happened is it seems more like a campaign that's based on we need to get Trump out of there versus Biden is the best choice.
It's sort of a negative.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do think that Joe Biden is the best choice for president. I do. He's got the experience, 50 years plus of public service. I think he's got the temperament. I think he's got the humility. I think President Trump has too much personality, too many feelings. And it's one of the things that I have to say is I respect the office of the president. So you're never going to catch me publicly disrespecting the president of the United States. I'm just not going to do that because I respect the office. It doesn't mean that I support his policy. It doesn't mean that I support the things that he is, currently doing, the things that he's saying. I think that right now is a time where we need some consistency. We need somebody who is in office that is going to provide the country a balance. And I think that Joe Biden is the best candidate to present that balance.
Mm-hmm. Donald Trump says that Joe Biden is sleepy Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe Biden, he's not thinking properly. Do you think there's any relevance to that analysis? By the way, for those watching, we're having problems with Ken Miller. Hey, Ken, you're having problems in terms of this broadcast, so try to fix things, Ken, okay? It's Miller time. Ken Miller, please try to fix it, Ken. So, Jerome Emanuel, do you think that this idea that Biden is sleepy Joe Biden is fair?
I mean, you're talking about a presidential Medal of Freedom recipient. I mean, this guy's got a lifetime of public service. He is the real deal. I believe that, this is really going to come down to, what does the country want? I mean, I think that it's time for a change. I think that President Trump is not the right person for the time. And I think that, this country more than anything else needs a president that's balanced, that has experience. I think that we need somebody who has, ultimately served as a vice president that has the foreign relations affairs that gives us respect back to the United States that I think that we've lost in some cases. People will disagree with me. This is a Southern tier. I get it. But this is my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you felt that Donald Trump and the office of the president should not be tarnished, but in fact, has Donald Trump tarnished the office of the president, Joe Biden?
I was asked a question by somebody about a week ago, and they asked me if Donald Trump has created a divide within the country. I think that Donald Trump has exposed the divide that's within the country. I think the divide within the country was already there. I just think that he created a platform to make it okay. And unfortunately, there's examples of that, all over the place. So I think that he, more than anything, I think that he just exposed the divide. I don't think that he created it, but he certainly doesn't help. I mean,
so Jerome, would you call Donald Trump the divider in chief?
Call him a lot of things, but
divider in chief?
Well, I call him the president of the United States. Like I said, I am not going to disrespect the sitting president of the United States. I respect the office way too much for that. I just don't think that he's the right person for the job.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, we have the Reverend Nathaniel Wright, pastor of the Calvary Baptist Church in Ithaca. Reverend Wright, what's on your mind? What do you say?
Thank you, Dr. Coleman, for the invitation. It's good to see everyone, even on Zoom. And most of you, I'm sure, are tired of Zoom. So it's good to see you nonetheless. I have pastored now for 15 years. And in 15 years, I've made zero endorsement, any acknowledgement of who I would ever vote for. So I don't sway anyone with any influence that I have. With that said, this is the first year that I will ever say out loud that I plan to vote and support Joe Biden. I think the times that our nation face are far too critical. I think that our current president does not serve either my American view or my faith well. And I do believe that, and Jerome, I am one who has supported Joe from the beginning. We were few and far between, I'm sure. But I think that former Vice President Biden is exactly what we need in this time. as we with so many things on the horizon and so many things that our nation is facing.
Yeah, Pastor Wright. Some folks say that Donald Trump is very much evangelical and has the support of the evangelical community. What do you think about that?
I do believe that he does have the support of the evangelical community. And I believe then that while we may share the same umbrella of Christianity, we clearly do not see it in the same way. I do not necessarily believe that he is one that upholds Christian value, nor does he support or live out the faith that I believe in ways that I believe we are called to according to the Bible.
Yeah, do a lot of the members of the evangelical community, Reverend Wright, in your view, support Donald Trump?
I do believe so. I'm a part of a few interdenominational groups, and I would say that at least in this part of the state, in Ithaca and those that I interact with, a vast majority of them do support the president.
So why are they supporting him?
You know, I couldn't answer that. I do think that there is a level, the Republican Party has done a very good job of connecting Christianity to their politics. I think the Democratic Party often struggles with inclusivity in terms of having space for people of faith. And I think that the Republican Party has done a better job of allowing that part of the tent. Although I will again say that I don't necessarily believe that is how faith ought to be played out. So
faith has been politicized.
Absolutely. And so you end up with the two wedge issues for most evangelical Christians have to deal with abortion and or LGBTQ issues. And my Christianity is broader than those two linchpins. I think that we find ourselves needing to broaden the ideas of what, you know, in Christian faith tradition, what would, right, the cliche, what would Jesus do? How that thing is lived out is much different. I have a grave concern for the poor, grave concern for the marginalized and the oppressed. I believe that Jesus is on the side of those who are marginalized, and I do not believe that our current president is able to show the level of empathy or policy that makes those things possible.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Wright. We're still getting Ken Miller's.
I'm here.
Well, somehow, Ken, we keep getting stuff on the screen that says Ken Miller. But somehow I think you need to.
If I go outside.
Yeah, fix things. Okay, now we have Deborah Lynch. Deborah Lynch is a political activist and vice chair of the Chemung Democratic Committee. Deborah Lynch, Deborah, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Ken Miller, noises from Ken Miller's side. It sounds like we're involved with cartoons. Anyway, Ken was not going to be in the show. At the last minute said he would be, and now he's on the show, and I think things are being, screwed up a little bit. So Ken, try to get that back in order, okay? Deborah, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
First, I want to thank you for doing the show again. It's a great way to voice our opinions. I know you all know that I was obviously a huge Bernie Sanders supporter, ran as a delegate for Bernie Sanders. It was because of his platform that I ran and I supported him. And I have watched him support Joe Biden and this candidacy, and also help him frame and shape the upcoming platform and pulling it more towards what Bernie wanted and his supporters. and I will be voting and supporting that ticket. I will also be the person, and I'm sure Dora will be and Jerome will be, making sure that they do what they say they're going to do. And that's not just true of Joe Biden and Kamala. That's true of any elected official. And I'm sure Tom Santulli will attest to that, that we just don't sit back and allow people that are elected to not do what they say they were going to do. And so with that being said, I will be supporting them. I will be supporting all of our candidates wholeheartedly, and then making sure that they do what they said they were going to do when they ran for office. So right now, Donald Trump, and Jerome put it best, in my opinion, does not have the temperament to lead this country. And he's been given quite a task with this pandemic. I'm sure any president, any administration would struggle with what we've been dealing with for the last 5 months. I mean, Dora will be the first to tell you that she's been having to worry about sending her students back to school and her teachers back to school in the middle of a crisis. And it's not an easy task for anybody. But on the other hand, when you flippantly say something like, 170,000 people have died, it is what it is. That's not the answer a president should ever give. So, in my opinion, right now, we need different leadership to bring us into the 21st century. And Donald Trump is not it.
Bernie Sanders obviously is going to support Joe Biden. And he says as soon as Joe Biden is elected, he's going to support a progressive agenda in the United States. So is Bernie Sanders really going to accept the results of the election if Joe Biden wins?
Is he going to accept the results?
Yeah, in the sense that Bernie says, well, if Joe is elected, I'm going to support, right after that, progressive causes and try to put things in a new direction for the country.
I think he already has. I think over the last 4 years, his platform is what's being discussed. And I think that he has already shaped the platform of not only the Democratic Party, but of the country. If you look at healthcare for all, for instance, it's supported by Republicans and Democrats alike. Mm-hmm. This is not a partisan issue. And I don't believe climate change is a partisan issue either. Mm-hmm. It never should be. We have to protect the environment that we live in. Mm-hmm. And that should never be partisan. And that's what I believe Bernie means when he says he's going to support not only the platform, but also people that are running to protect those things that he holds dear.
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
Yeah, some would say that, like it or not, Bernie lost. And he lost. And Joe Biden is likely to win. So what say you to that?
He did win. I mean, Joe Biden is our candidate. It was clear and decisive, and it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to that, you can say it is what it is. He is our candidate, and he is who we will support going into the election. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to platform, we will make sure and hold all the elected officials down, from the president on down to dog catcher, that they do what they say they're going to do. Mm-hmm. That's why they're being paid. That's why they're collecting benefits and paychecks from us as taxpayers, because they're supposed to be representing us, not their own special interests, but us.
And a lot of Americans feel that doesn't happen, and these politicians get paychecks, and it's worthless because they do what they want to, right?
Exactly, 100%. And I think that's where you see a lot of people, when you've got more than 50% of the population that aren't members of any major party, that tells you everything you need to know. Mm-hmm. People are very disenfranchised from the system. If you've ever tried to run for office, you know how hard it is. It's not an easy task. Even just to get on the ballot is a challenge. And then you have to raise money, and then Jerome will tell you, anybody that's on this panel that's run for office, Tom will tell you. Who else we got on here? Randy Reed. It's an enormous amount of work to do that, right, to run for office.
And it's discouraging to people, right, to run because
and there's rules in place for it. And the problem is that when you disenfranchise people from a process that's supposed to be their constitutional right, it hurts our democracy. It's not right. It's wrong. And that's why we're supporting the post office. We can get into that issue right now because mail-in ballots, I just ran for state committee. There were way more mail-in ballots than there were on the night of the election. So it does work. And it was very fair. I watched the whole process for 9 hours. It was very fair. So I really believe our democracy we're on a cliff right now, and we got to fix it.
Deborah Lynch, thank you for your comments. Tom Santulli is the political commentator of the Twin Tiers. He's well known now as a political commentator on WETM TV, along with Dora Leland. They're both very, very famous now in terms of their comments on WETM TV. But Tom Santulli, you're here, right? Are you here, Tom?
I hope I am.
Okay, there he is. So, Tom, we were just talking about when people run for public office, there's roadblocks, and it's very difficult. Did you find that to be the case when you were running?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I had when I first ran for public office in 1983, I was in a 3-to-1 Democrat area, and I was a Republican, obviously. And I've always been a person that really has friends on both sides of the aisle, and a lot of that is because it was the Democrat Party that actually helped me get elected. I couldn't have done it with just the Republicans way back in the city. And so I've had a good relationship with both parties, but politics was a lot different back then. It's hard to raise money, but it can be done. The difference today is that people were able to agree and disagree and still sit down and be friends. I had very few, I think, enemies in politics. Now, people might not have liked what I've said or what I've done. I get all that. But for the most part, I had a lot of Democrat friends, still do. And but both sides, I think, are guilty of and I've said this 100 times, of putting politics before people. It's just the way it is. The next 60 days, 64 days, what's ever left, everything you hear is just going to be, in my humble opinion, is just who can just trash the other person and to get that vote and get people out and make promises that I'm not even sure if they're even possible to keep. But it's all about winning. And at the end of the day, and I felt this way with Trump, whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump, and I'm a Trump supporter, I'm not a supporter of his personality. I've said this 50,000 times, that's not how I would treat people. It's not how I would respond and talk. I don't like that. I don't like disrespect at times, but he's not the only person that's guilty of that, believe me. And he's not only the Republican that's guilty of that. That's just that nastiness, I think, that's developed, that people want to label everybody. Everybody's now got a label we put on people. I think social media, which some people love, has become, I think, something that really has destroyed a lot of what we do, because everyone's allowed to say what they want with no filters. I mean, if you don't have respect for people, I don't know how you move forward. Here's what I like about Trump. I like the way he deals with the economy. He was for, less corporate tax, less regulation. I think it helped the economy. I think that he wants America to be good. I think he wants it to succeed. He put all his eggs in one basket. It was the economy. When the economy was hot, he was doing okay, even those poll numbers sometimes will go back and forth. Obviously, when COVID-19 hit, that all changed it. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have that hottest economy that you can talk about. So you have to retool and rethink about what you say. With Joe Biden, and don't take this the wrong way, I think Joe Biden certainly has done a lot for this country. He's a good person. I'm just going to say it. I don't think Joe Biden is a well man. I question his ability to hold the office for any length of time. He doesn't look.
Some would say the same thing about Donald Trump. They would question his ability to hold the office. So when you agree?
Guys will probably just drop because he's always doing this. He's one of those guys that's always overwhelmed. And and age is, hey, look at the age of the people. Pelosi, she's 80 years old. Biden's 76, I think. Trump is 72, 73. Quite frankly, if I really wanted to make a case, I think it's for some of these people to say, hey, you know what, I'm 71, so I'll say it. You know, I think sometimes it's time for people to pack it in and move on and let a new generation of people become involved. Everybody in leadership everywhere is in their 70s and 80s, it seems like. And I just think that that's an issue too. But, you know, but that being said, I think when people vote, when the election comes in 2 months, there are going to be those people that are going to have to make a decision of how right you want to go and how left you want to go. And whether you like Bernie Sanders, I'm not a fan. I can tell you this, he's a worker. He believes in what he believes in. I don't always, you know, believe in what he believes in, but I give him credit. He's the one person that believes in something. He never flinches an inch. He'll fight for what he believes. And but I'm not sure if this country is ready for not for the environment. How we all care about the environment. I'm not sure if the Green New Deal is the right way, or Medicare for everybody is the right way, for open borders is the right way. Those are all things people are going to have to listen to and think about and decide. Are we ready to do that? And there's a lot of issues here. This campaign's far from over. I know that Joe Biden is doing better in the polls. Believe me, people do not tell the truth when they're polled. They admit that they don't tell the truth. I think they think everything you do today, they think everybody knows. So I think that anything could happen. I'm not going to predict who's going to win, but this election is not over. Trump's got a big following, and I think there's still a lot of people that I call those closet Republicans that will be there in the end. And with Joe Biden, it'll be interesting to see how, because he certainly has gone farther left than he's ever been, because he's let Bernie Sanders influence him in where they want to go. And I understand it. That's part of politics.
That's American politics, isn't it?
Say that again?
That's American politics, Tom Santulli.
Absolutely. I mean, I have my beliefs, but I can tell you this at the end of the day, I hope whatever happens and whoever wins, that we won't start like we did 4 years ago with just this immediate desire to trash somebody before it even starts. You know, we need a little more decency in politics. We really.
And would you say that Donald Trump has brought us decency in politics, Tom Santulli?
No, absolutely not. He bought the private sector. I think he bought a lot of ability, but people didn't like him from the beginning because he was an outsider. He wasn't one of the gang. That was his problem. And people didn't like him from day one. They didn't like him before he even got elected to the office. And he, who tortures the press and likes to go after him and likes to tweet and likes to do all that, that does stir people up. Hey, but he did it. That was his way of doing it. It wouldn't be my way of doing it. But despite that, you know, it's easy to pick people apart and it's easy to find fault with people. But, you know, I just wish we were a little bigger than that.
So, Tom, I want to talk about your secret to success. Right now, you are a major commentator in the Twin Tiers on mytwintiers.com. You have a segment called Political Talk. Dora Leland is also on that segment. So in terms of the two of you, what is your secret to success in terms of political talk, WETM TV, and mytwintiers.com?
Well, let me go first, and Dora can go second. When Dora came on, because I didn't start with Dora, and somebody said to me the other day, and Dora, don't take the run. They said, "How do you like Dora?" And they said, "How do you put up with her?" I said, "I want to tell you something." And Dora, I mean this. You're one of the nicest people I've ever met. And her and I, we may disagree on politics to a point, but talk about two people I think that treat each other with respect and who like each other. We even think of it. We actually send these things about what we're going to talk about. We laugh about it at the same time about the same subject. I think it's easy. I think it's easy to get along with people if you don't make politics how you think that person lives and breathes. Mm-hmm. It's bigger than that. You can be of another party and be totally opposite and still be friends. I really believe that. And I think we're proof of it. I enjoy doing the segment with Dora every week.
Well, thank you.
And do I get to say something?
Yeah. What's your secret to success, Dora?
I think the important thing to remember in all of this is you can have philosophical disagreements, but I think in the end, moral fiber is what is going to ground us. You know, we can disagree on philosophy, but in the end, we have to stand by people and stand by what is right and what is wrong. And that can never be a philosophical disagreement. And I think that Tom and I haven't had those kind of disagreements.
Okay, thank you, Dora. Next, I want to bring in, it's Miller time. I want to bring in Ken Miller. Ken, are you there? Is Ken Miller there? Come in, Ken Miller. Okay, Ken is the former Chemung County legislator.
I'm here.
And local business leader. Ken, you're there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So in terms of Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, what say you?
Well, I got a lot to say, and I know I only got a little bit of time. So I'm going to say that Donald Trump has been one of the greatest presidents in the history of our country. We had the lowest unemployment for every demographic in our country for the first time in forever. And people were working. I mean, everybody was working that wanted to work. Unemployment was so low, it was below what they call full employment. You know, the unemployment number was so low, it was more than full employment. And that's an incredible feat. And he did that because he made America first. He told China pretty much to go pound salt. We're going to make trade agreements that are good for America. He told Mexico, he told Canada, all those agreements were redone, and America became first in all of our dealings so that the American people could have a job. Why build the wall? Because people that are illegal that come across our border, not immigrants, illegal people breaking our law, not coming in, being vetted for medical, criminal. That's why we have we need a border wall. Joe Biden wants to tear it down. We need protection. I want to know on the panel here, which one of you is going to take your front door off your house and let anybody, without vetting them, come into your house? Tom Riley, you are crazy because you are opening your family to being shot, killed,
I've done that before.
Mutilated, whatever an illegal person would want to do. And so let me finish. A lot of the panel here are either preachers, they claim to be Christian. You claim that, you know, God is your moral ground that you make your decisions on. I don't know any Christian religion, Baptist, Catholic, Methodist, you go right down the line, that thinks it's okay to murder a baby in a mother's womb. I don't know of any religion, and you say God, Jesus, what would he do? Jesus would help the poor. Jesus would give him a hand up. Jesus would not kill his baby. He would love that baby, and he would love every single person. And that's what God and Jesus would do. And, you know, I just don't understand, and I never will understand, the Democrat Party saying that they're going to support Joe Biden, not because he's a Democrat. I'm not against Joe because he's a Democrat. I'm against Joe because he's taking on socialism, communism. I mean, he is trying to destroy our country as we know it. We have a great country. Let's remember that. We don't need to fundamentally change our country. We need to make micro adjustments and make sure, you know, like if the cops are being racist to anybody, then we need to deal with those cops and take care of that. But the 99% of the cops aren't bad guys. We need them to have a society that is safe, that is protecting our children. Every single person on this panel, I'm sure that one time or another, you've called and the police or the emergency people have shown up at your house or in your situation in a car wreck. They're there to help us. We got to quit this war on the police.
Okay, Ken. Ken, I just want to ask a question. Is this what you really think?
That's my opinion. What's yours?
Okay. Thanks, Ken. Thank you for joining us this evening. At one point, you mentioned you wouldn't be able to make it, and now you're...
I wanted to make it, though.
And I do appreciate it. Thank
you.
And next, Dr. Dennis Kingsley, Cornell University PhD and political analyst. Dr. Kingsley, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. What do you think?
Well, I want to speak to young Mr. Santulli first, that 80 is the new 60. And his ageism thing was really very distressing. I'm going to take a middle ground. I'm going to take a middle ground, which is I want a sign in my yard that says I'm going to vote for neither. I've been a lifelong Republican. I voted for Barry Goldwater the first time I could vote. Never voted for a Democrat. And I think that what happened is Biden has taken Bernie Sanders' platform, gone far to the left. He presented himself as a moderate at first and has gone far left. Can't support him in that regard. As far as Trump goes, there's no way I can vote for that man. I don't think he's been that great for the country. He's been a disaster. He has lied many, many times. He has done very little to help with this coronavirus. Let the states do it. Ken, I don't think he's done a good job with this. So I'm not going to vote for either of the candidates. And the problem with the Democrats is free this, free that, free something else. What they don't talk about is who's going to pay for it. We're going to soak the rich. Well, there are enough rich people to pay for all their things that they're going to give away free. And I don't think we need to head into a socialist country. So I'm going to be basically a sign, like I said, neither.
Yeah, Dennis, there are those people that would say that you should get out and vote, but you're saying you're not going to vote for Trump.
No, I didn't say I wasn't going to vote. There are other candidates, and you can write in candidates' names. I'm going to vote. I'm just not going to vote for either of the parties. I think that both of them have problems that I can't go with. There's no moderates. There's nobody in the middle. You go either far right or far left. Biden was going to be a moderate candidate, but he sure bought the Bernie Sanders line, hook, line, and sinker, as far as I can see, heading towards socialism.
Are you going to vote?
I'm going to vote, but there's other candidates, and I said there's write-in candidates.
I'm just curious, if I may ask, who you might vote for.
Well, there's libertarian candidates I might vote for. I could write in my own name.
That's what I think. Dennis Kingsley for president.
Right. Not a bad idea.
I think so. It's a good idea. I'll put your name in, Dennis.
Oh, well, thank you. That's 2 votes then.
Anyway, I want to bring in now the Honorable Dan Mandel. He's the Elmira mayor. And Mayor Mandel, you've been listening to all this. What are your comments?
Oh, yeah, I've been listening to a lot of this, and a lot of it is exactly like what Tom Santulli and a few other people have said, that we're polarized right now, and we need to come together as a nation. Now, when it comes to the election, I'm definitely supporting Donald Trump. He's not going to win Mr. Congeniality, that's for sure. But if you look at some of the accomplishments he has done, the stock market's a big one, the economy. But when you talk about the stock market, it's just not about the wealthy that are in the stock market. There's a lot of retired people that depend on that stock market to be strong, to keep them from, going broke. So you look at things like that, and you look at his foreign policy and what he's done for the military, and the fact that he has supported the police in this very turbulent time. I can tell you right now that most law enforcement is backing Donald Trump, if not all of them. So that brings a whole host of voters to his side. But in the meantime, he and the rest of the, not only Republicans, but Democrats on the national level have got to get together and work things out. Things like health insurance, things that work for all Americans, not just for a particular party. So we really need to take a good hard look at that. And can Donald Trump do that? I think in a second term, given the opportunity, I think he could. But it comes down to the Congress, too. It's just not the president. You've got a Congress on the Senate and the House that are truly, truly polarized right now, and they are accomplishing nothing except for pointing fingers, calling each other names, and it's very counterproductive.
Okay, Mayor Mandel, anything else to add to that?
That's pretty much it. Like I said, I'll be supporting Donald Trump. I just think he's got strong leadership. I do have a question about Joe Biden and his cognitive ability right now. We'll see during the debates whether that's true or not. But what I've witnessed from Vice President Biden is that in mid-sentence, he'll forget what he's saying. He's always made gaffes. Let's admit that throughout his career, but they seem to be more and more. So I have a real concern about that, which would affect his leadership ability.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. By the way, people have asked me when the next political pundit night will be. Well, that'll be the 20th political pundit night, and it's got to be on the Thursday before the 2020 presidential election. So that's Thursday, October the 29th. And of course, the presidential election will be on Tuesday, November 3rd. So anyway, the next political pundit night coming up, political pundit night number 20, which is going to be the before the 2020 presidential election on Thursday, October the 29th. Be there or be square. And I hope to get a great group of people like we had this evening at that political pundit night. Tom Riley is a veteran attorney, well known in the city of Elmira. He's here this evening. Tom, Trump versus Biden, your take?
Yes. I'm a year older than Donald, and I'm happy to report that I'm not nearly as senile as he is. I think the problem with our country is our Congress is totally a waste. They're polarized. They don't talk. They don't deal with facts. They won't cooperate on anything. And that's the Republicans and the Democrats. I mean, I hear people saying that Biden is becoming a socialist. Well, a socialist advocates running every business in the country. No one's saying that. And they're talking about, I don't think he's moved far to the left in any of his positions. Mm-hmm. I think the problem is, what do these parties stand for? And I agree with some people. The Democrat Party tends to say, let's make this free. And they don't talk about how you're going to pay for it. They want free college education. Well, that ain't going to happen. Free medical care, that ain't going to happen. But no one sits down and says, geez, you know, how much money do we actually spend in the United States on medical care? No one can give us the figure. If they could give us the figure, insurance, medicine, you know, all those costs we spend on doctors and that kind of stuff, now that's the money we've got to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to save it. But I think, you know, the Democrats are free everything. And I mean, I'm sorry to say this about Donald Trump, but I think he's not a Republican. He should be a Republican. Republicans believe in fiscal responsibility. He certainly doesn't have that. They believe in you're responsible for your own actions. He certainly doesn't believe that. He is anti-science. He's anti-facts. He loves to lie all the time. He calls people names. And to follow his track, you know, he says he likes to call Pocahontas and things like that. Well, I call him the fat president. And he doesn't recognize the presidency. He doesn't respect it by his own actions. He initially started out tearing up the Intelligence Department. Now he's moved on to the Justice Department, and he also tears up the media. And strangely enough, his biggest fan, his biggest love is Putin, a communist, a former communist at least, and certainly a socialist. I don't understand that. But as we were talking before, I think Tom Santulli brought it up with the stuff in the media. I get involved in some of that stuff, and I go a little bit further than I probably should with some of the comments because I get frustrated when people distort the facts. I get frustrated when they distort the facts on anti-Biden and anti-Trump. I mean, if they're wrong, they're wrong. But a friend of mine and I spar around every once in a while and pick on each other's positions. And some people got involved. How can you say that about Tom? We both come in and say, you know, 50 years ago, we were in the same station in the country of Panama, and we were in the Navy, and we're veterans, and we're friends, and we'll always be friends regardless of our positions, politically or not. And I think that's what we've got to recognize now is that if you're in office as a office holder, or if you're a legislator, let's try to deal with reality. Let's try to deal with facts. Let's compromise. I can't think of any situation where some legislation is going through that a conservative wouldn't have a great idea that should be incorporated in the legislation, or a liberal would have a great idea that should be incorporated in it. We just don't do that anymore. And I think with I mean, I don't want to see the Senate taken over by the Democrats. But if that happens, you know, the Republican Party and the Trump people are going to pay for that. because they're going to roll back every regulation Trump has enacted. And really, frankly, a lot of those are tied up in the courts and are going absolutely nowhere. And most of them are destructive of the environment. So I'm voting for Biden.
Tom Riley, a lot of folks voted for Donald Trump because he said he would shake things up. He would shake the government up. He would not be establishment. So hasn't Trump succeeded in that respect?
He's made it worse. Look at Bannon. He's not talking about the swamp. He's brought the swamp and then magnified it. No, I can understand somebody coming in as a businessman. He wants to make changes. Let's make changes in business. Like, you don't do that by calling people names. You don't do that. It doesn't do any good.
Okay, at this point, Nick Weinstein is a nationally known GOP political strategist. Nick, listening to all this, what do you think?
Well, I agree with some of the folks. Certainly my support for President Trump shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone who's tuned into these before. But this is a really interesting election, and I can't help but feel like the Democrats have made another huge blunder with their choice of a candidate. I think Bernie Sanders would have probably been a stronger opponent to Donald Trump 4 years ago, certainly than Hillary Clinton. And I think he was well on his way to winning the Democratic nomination this past primary before forces in Washington and elsewhere, got together and found a way to spin it for Bernie. And I just, for Biden. And I just think it's interesting, you see all these polls that show that, Donald Trump is losing to Joe Biden, but the enthusiasm gap between supporters for Joe Biden and supporters for President Trump is huge. When you ask voters, are members of your family or your neighbors, are they voting for President Trump? They overwhelmingly say, yes, they are. The voters overwhelmingly think that President Trump is going to win re-election. So I'd say be very cautious when you look at the polls. The enthusiasm gap is real, and President Trump has a lot of accomplishments and has really framed this election around issues that I think resonate with the vast majority of voters. You have a political party that has wrapped themselves around the idea that they're going to support the police, that America is great, that our founding fathers are great, and that we should be proud to be Americans. And somehow Democrats have embraced an ideology that runs completely counter to that. And it's unfortunately out of touch with what the vast majority of Americans believe. And I think that, Democrats are hoping that the American people hate President Trump more than anything else. And I just don't think that is ultimately what's going to motivate people to get out and vote. So this fringe ideology is going to come back to really bite them. And you hear it in some of the voices of folks tonight that are not huge Donald Trump supporters, but just cannot embrace the ideology of the radical Democrats.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate your comments. I want to thank everyone for watching this 19th Political Pundit Night exclusively on mytwintears.com, and all the folks that participated. The Reverend Lori Thornton, pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church in Corning. She gave the invocation. We had a number of other folks. Dora Leland, political commentator, political activist, public school educator, and Chemung County Democratic Chair. Jerome Emanuel, community leader and activist. The Reverend Nathaniel Wright, pastor of the Calvary Baptist Church in Ithaca. Deborah Lynch, political activist and vice chair of the Chemung County Democratic Committee. Ken Miller, former Chemung County legislator and local business leader. Dr. Dennis Kingsley, Cornell University PhD and political analyst. The Honorable Dan Mandel, Elmira Mayor. Tom Riley, who's a veteran attorney. And we just heard from Nick Weinstein, GOP political strategist. Everybody did a great job this evening.
Dr. Coleman, may I speak?
Georgia Verde, yes.
Thank you. I've been sitting here an hour and a half. You're going to shut me out?
Go right ahead, Georgia.
Okay. Did you not know I was here?
I did, but I think I missed calling on you, so I apologize.
You missed even introducing me. Thank you.
I apologize.
Okay. I'd like to thank you for this forum, and I'm glad I'm last because I'm going down a different road. I Our topic was Trump versus Biden, your choice. And I thank God for choices. So somebody might ask, where do we go from here? First thing we need to do, we need to tell the truth. Now we live and we got 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. We can see, we can hear. And we know when people are not telling the truth. We are living, intelligent human beings. And whether you like it or not, we need to tell the truth. So who are we fooling when we sit on TV or wherever we are and say what we say as if Americans are not experiencing life in the flesh? So the first thing we need to tell the truth. So in terms of where we're going from here, and I'm glad I'm last because I want to use a hospital analogy. And in my opinion, our country has been hospitalized, and it is in the intensive care unit on life supports. Suffering from 3 pandemics. One is COVID-19, the next one is systemic racism, and the third is political chaos. And they are deadly and exhausting. And we just might as well face it. Those are the facts. Yet I am hopeful because there are some medications that can be a cure for the country. However, this will require ensuring that qualified staff is in charge of the hospital. And that as staff who are able to offer treatment known as justice, equality, love, empathy, unity. And I don't hear a lot of talk about that. We're just talking about people. But if you got people, you got staff that are not exhibiting this, we're just going to be in the ICU the rest of our lives. So I think we need to get on board with the truth. During November, we will have the opportunity to vote for the candidates of our choice. And the Bible says there's a time and a season for everything under the sun. And we are in that season. So perhaps what we have been seeing and experiences is planned in this time and season. But however, both time and seasons change, and it's time for change. I believe it's time for change. And not only is it time for change, it's time for woman power. We cannot easily fit a woman into a male-coded structure. So we have to change the structure. So I say to the viewers, we have the power to become change agents. So let us not sit around complaining and talking about untruths and what people have done and what they can do and what they cannot do. Let's look at the facts and register and prepare to take our souls to the poll. So on November 4th, when we wake up and realize, when we wake up, we don't want to realize that the nightmare we fear is real. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Georgia. Anybody else that's on the panel want to share some closing thoughts? Anybody else?
Yeah, I took a little, I've been doing a count. It's 5 for Trump, 6 for Biden, and 1 not voting for either. So it's a pretty divided panel, but very interesting.
Okay, well, I think that shows, in fact, there was an attempt to have different people with different views on the panel, Dennis. By the way, the next Political Pundit Night number 20 for the 2020 presidential election will be on Thursday, October 29th on mytwintears.com. It'll be a Cybercast. I want to thank everybody for joining in this evening. Anybody else with a final comment? Anybody that...
I do. I'd just like to ask the panel of Democrats, the next time we get together, explain to me how you justify abortion. I just want an explanation how it's okay.
Ken, I have a question.
We can wait till the next time.
Okay.
Dr. Coleman, I'll just say this. I don't think that anyone tried to justify abortion. I do think that Mr. Miller, with all due respect, continues to bring that up as an issue. I personally have my own views about it, but I also believe that Christianity is not the national religion. I would share, though, an amazing...
But like our Constitution does say that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And a baby that's in a mother's womb hasn't even had the chance to be born to pursue that happiness by our Constitution, not by God, not by Christianity, but by our Constitution.
The next.
Dr. Coleman, I'll just say this. It was an amazing quote that I heard that said you can give our democracy new meaning with the election. You can take it to a better place, but you're the missing ingredient, the ones that will decide whether or not America becomes the country that fully lives up to its creed. So encourage everyone to vote.
The next political pundit night, one of the questions will be, is Ken Miller a one-issue person? Is he a one-issue candidate or one-issue person? We can talk about that next time. The next political pundit night. Ken, I look forward to having you back on the panel. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Dr. Coleman.
Thank you.
Coleman.
Dr. Coleman. Thanks, everybody.
Everybody along
Bye,
the way.
everybody. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Dr. Coleman.